So Bradley Beal decided to stay loyal to the Washington Wizards and opted into a new contract. Well, he opted out of his old contract, renewed a new contract, and now he's there for the long haul. Now, of course, there's always the possibility of Bradley Beal deciding, hey, I want to be traded, demanding a trade and forcing his way out. Secure the money now. Get the money that you can now. But one of the big things that Bradley Beal has stressed and talked about for some time is the lack of players wanting to come to the Wizards and the lack of, the organization not going out and getting other stars to pair with Bradley Beal. They do have Kristaps Porzingis, but at this point, he's a huge question mark. He's a guy that is probably better suited as like your third or fourth option now rather than your number 2 option. In the Wizards, might not even be a playoff team in all reality. But the Washington Wizards may be getting some help in the form of Kevin Durant. Now, apparently, the Washington Wizards are putting out a big push to try to trade and acquire Kevin Durant to pair with Bradley Beal, which in that case would be fantastic. Now, the question is, do you keep Kristaps Porzingis, which I would imagine maybe they do. Now, Kristaps does only have 2 years left on his contract, so maybe a team like Brooklyn, they'd be willing to take that on. You give up a bunch of draft picks, maybe throw in Kuzma, Ryu, things like that. But reality, it'll probably be the young guys. Probably get a couple young guys and a bunch of draft picks. Probably throw in Kyle Kuzma, something along those lines to acquire Kevin Durant. Now, the Wizards could put together a pretty solid package for Kevin Durant. I don't know if it'll be enough to get there because the problem with Washington is they have a bunch of young guys, but none of them are really standout guys. None of them are guys that you see and you're like, man, that's the guy we need. That's the guy that I think could be the face of a franchise later on or even become an all-star or something like that. And that doesn't mean that none of them can be. It's just none of them have really stood out so far on the Washington Wizards. So would Brooklyn want any of those assets? And on top of that, how many draft picks is it going to take in order to get Kevin Durant? Because also the other thing too you got to keep in mind is Brooklyn, they can't tank. So like maybe if Washington, if you get like a handful of their young guys and then on top of that get like 6 or 7, maybe 8 draft picks over the next, 10 years or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, okay, like we got a great package for a rebuild, then it would be perfect. But in reality, Brooklyn can't because they don't own any of their own draft picks. And so they can't tank to like 2028. So they need assets that can help them be competitive as much as possible now. And I don't know if the Wizards have enough to do that along with like a guy like Ben Simmons and things along those lines. So I think any Wizards deal for Kevin Durant, I don't know if they could get it straight up. Now, of course, Kevin Durant, there would be a lot of incentive there because he'd be going home. It would make sense for Kevin Durant to maybe want to go to the Wizards personally, although it wasn't a destination that he's listed or a destination that has even been rumored up until yesterday. But he does have incentive to go there. He can go back home. He could team up with Bradley Beal. Him and Bradley Beal would be a solid duo, right? And it's a team that I still don't think personally they would be a contender. But you never know. I mean, Bradley Beal, if he can get back to being that Bradley Beal we know and love and we've seen kind of just be an all-star and that dominant player, there are a lot of concerns and questions with his health, particularly. And if he can if he can get back to form, I think that they at least have a puncher's chance with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. But it also depends on what other pieces you have around you beyond that. The beauty is you would have Kevin Durant and you would have Bradley Beal for the long haul. You'd have them for the next 4 years. But, say you have to give up a package of Kuzma, Ryu, Jonathan Davis, maybe Monty Morris is somebody that they would want. And then you have with Bradley Beal, you'd have Kevin Durant, Kristaps Porzingis. You'd still have a guy like Will Barton. So you could put together a decent package. DeLon Wright also, I believe they picked up. So, he could be a point guard for them. So they would have a solid squad. I definitely think they are a playoff team. I definitely think that they could surprise somebody. But being an actual contender, I don't know if they get there. And I don't know if they could put the package together that would be enticing enough to warrant the Brooklyn Nets to trade Kevin Durant. If you're the Wizards and you can get it done, I think you do it immediately. I think you do whatever it takes. Because like I said, you have Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant locked up for the next 4 years, you could, at that point, you appease Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal ain't going anywhere. You got Kevin Durant, who has a running mate that he can count on and show up. I think it's a good position for the Wizards, but Brooklyn is my big concern. Obviously this Kevin Durant sweepstakes is just all over the place. But if I'm being honest, I really think at this point Kevin Durant stays with the Brooklyn Nets. I don't see any teams outside of like the Warriors. Obviously the Raptors could make a deal, but I don't think they trade Scotty Barnes. Like a lot of the teams that could probably put a package together that would entice Brooklyn for a Kevin Durant, I just don't think any of them want to give up those assets in order to get him and gut their team essentially. But a team like the Wizards, outside of Bradley Beal, everybody's tradable, right? Nobody, like I said, nobody is on that team is a blockbuster type player. And that's why I have my concerns. There's guys that have a lot of potential. There's guys that, maybe under the right system, under the right organization, stuff like that, could develop into a really solid core. But none of them have really stood out the way that you would want them to. None of them are like, oh man, that's the guy that has a lot of potential. None of them have been like Tyrese Maxey, where you're like, dude, that guy could be an all-star in this league. That guy could be your number one scoring option on this team. I just think, I don't know how the Wizards would get there. But again, they are making a hard, strong push for Kevin Durant. I think this is more of just like a good faith type of push. Like, hey, Bradley, we're trying, hey, buddy, like we tried to get Kevin Durant. Unfortunately, they didn't want our package. That's what this kind of seems like to me. I think Washington knows that they don't have enough to go get Kevin Durant. I think they're just kind of looking at it as like, Bradley Beal just re-signed. We don't want him to ask for a trade or demand a trade. So let's like at least show that we're trying something. Let's show face and kind of give that good faith gesture to Bradley Beal, and maybe that'll be enough to entice him. Maybe that'll be enough to keep him excited and keep him around and go, oh, okay, at least they're trying to do something. But I just think Washington, you never see them go after any of these big names. Like Donovan Mitchell. Like whether you think Donovan Mitchell is a good fit or not, like why wouldn't you at least throw your hat in the ring and just see what happens? Maybe Donovan Mitchell and Bradley Beal could be a nice duo. Defensively, they wouldn't be that great, but it's about like at least putting guys around Bradley Beal and showing Bradley Beal like, look, we are trying here. Because for the last several years, they haven't. The last several years, they haven't done nothing. And Bradley Beal's just kind of been waiting around. And he chose the money over championships, which I don't really blame him. When you're talking that kind of, you're talking $250 million, $500 million. Like, I would probably do the same thing. It'd be nice to get some hardware, but towards the end of your career, you could always just go ring chase to get that ring if you need to. I just think that, again, this is a good faith gesture. I think this is like, hey, we're trying here. Look, buddy, hey, you stuck around? That's kind of what this looks like to me. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about this? Do you think that the Wizards actually have a chance to get Kevin Durant? If they did, do you think that Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant would be a good pairing? Do you think that it's a duo that could win a championship? Or do you think like, no, they're a playoff team, not much more than that? I just don't think Wizards, like with the starting five I mentioned earlier, with like DeLon Wright, Will Barton, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Kristaps Porzingis, I think that that's a good team. I don't think it's a contending team. I think there's still, I still think Milwaukee's better. I think Boston's better. Atlanta's probably better. Bulls, you could maybe argue, are better. I just think that there are better teams out there. But Kristaps Porzingis, if he could get back to New York, the first couple of years, New York Porzingis, where he's your third option, a guy that could get you 30, 20 to 30 a game. You got Kevin Durant, you got Bradley Beal. You could at least be an exciting team, right? At least a team of intrigue. But, do you feel the same way? Do you not? However you feel, again, let me know down in the comment section below. One last little shameless plug is I did start As It Stands Lakers. It is a channel just like this, dedicated to only the Lakers, because the Lakers are my favorite team. And on this channel, As It Stands, I talk about all teams, all sports, stuff like that. We have football season coming up, so I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And I just wanted to make a dedicated channel to the Lakers to give the ins and outs. Now, all the big stuff, all the big news and stuff, I will still post here on this channel. But if you want all the ins and outs and just rumors and theories and just discussions just strictly on the Lakers, link down in the description. or in the comment section. Go check out the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot, lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.